Let's do this. 2026.
All right, Colby, we are here. 2025. Forget about it. It's in the past. 2026 is it's over. 2026 is what we are here to talk about. There are a lot of things to look forward to this year in terms of children's books, children's literature. And so we created some categories as we do every year on this episode, kind of looking ahead at things that we're excited about, things maybe that we've already read that we love, and we're just going to get into it. So, do you have any 2026 reading resolutions?
Absolutely. So last year, my reading resolution was to read in the mornings. That's ridiculous. I'm never going to be someone on a school day who reads in the mornings. I'm up at 4:30. I run by 5. There's nothing wrong with drinking a cup of coffee and scrolling on your phone in the mornings. Don't feel guilty to Wordle, I like to check all of my bank accounts, just kind of get my budget, make sure that's good from the day before. I like to check in out on all those sports. So yeah, not going to pretend that I'm going to read. I know you like do the morning journal. You're a better person than me. That's never going to be me. I'm going to just scroll on my phone, drink my coffee, run 6 miles, get ready for school. This year, my goal is one that I can accomplish. I'd like to read a book for grownups 4 times a year, once a quarter. If I do 2 in the summer, none in the spring, that's fine. I will read 1 grown-up book in 2025, and I think 4 in 2026 is good. I like the grown-up books, usually nonfiction, memoir type stuff. That's my goal. How about you, Travis Jonker?
So my big one, it's funny, we've both talked about like reading at certain times of the day. And so mine is don't just read before bed. My resolution is to read at other times. It doesn't have to be in the morning.
Okay.
I also am not someone who's like reading a book in the morning time, and I love it when I get a rare chance to do it, but it almost never happens, like you're saying. So, but one thing that happens is then I'm reading at night right before bed, and I have like 5 to 8 minutes, and all of a sudden I'm getting drowsy. I got to switch the light off. I got to go to bed. And so it's making my reading time so much shorter when that's the only time of the day that I'm reading.
Sure.
So just fitting in some different times to put reading into my life a little bit more in 2026.
Do you have a time? Do you have a time that works for you? Let's say, when would be an ideal, not before bed, not in the morning, time for a full-time school librarian, a husband, a father of 2 teenagers? Like, when can you do that?
Depends on the day, of course, but around that dinner time, before dinner time, maybe a little bit after, just after dinner time, something like that. Some days that's pretty calm, and so I would be able to do that.
Are the Yonkers a sit down every night, home cooked meal family?
I feel like a lot of families, we try for that as much as possible, but you know how things go. It doesn't always work out like that. What about your family?
Well, I would like to think we are as well, but last night at like 9 o'clock, when I saw my son grab a lean cuisine out of the basement freezer and throw it in the microwave, the 8-year-old all by himself, I'm like, we need to figure things out. This is just seems too normal for him to grab the pizza lean cuisine. I mean, it's good pizza. It's not too unhealthy, but he shouldn't be able to do this at 8 years old. So goals in 2028. Absolutely. Travis, 2026. Are you thinking that there's any books that you're like dying to read?
Yeah. So one that really jumped out was Sashimi by Dan Santat. That book is already, I just see it popping up a lot of different places. Yeah. And I'm just such a fan of Dan Santat's work. Graphic novel. I'm very excited to read that. Also, he has the second book in the Sidekick series, which is like a sequel a decade plus in the making. I mean, 15 years in the making from when the first Sidekicks came out until the second one. And he's talked for a long time about wanting to make that a series. But he's making a lot of books. And so it's like he finally has had the chance to come back to that series and to continue it. And I'm really looking forward to that. Also by Philip C. Stead, A Potion, a Powder, a Little Bit of Magic. which is a book I believe that you have read already.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
have received the finished copy. Well, it's an ARC, but it's the printed copy. I got an early copy and it was like a PDF. And
Yeah,
I don't know about you, but reading a book as a PDF is almost impossible for me. And I felt like that book,
hard
especially,
pass. Yeah,
so much care was probably taken in the physical book and how it's all laid out and the illustrations and everything, that I wanted to wait until there was a printed book in my hands. And now there is, and I can't wait to read it.
absolutely. I've also read Sidekicks too. I love to think about the kids who read the book when it first came out, and then like today. I think about that with Amulet a lot, right? Kind of like the same timeline of time between the beginning and the end, and time between book 1 and book 2. I just picture like the 10-year-old in my class that was reading Sidekicks when it came out, and they're like 25 now. So
Yes.
it's fascinating. So the kids reading Sidekicks and Sidekick, which is what's awesome about the new one coming out, is it will be a whole new generation of kids reading Sidekicks 1 and Sidekicks 2. So I love that very much for the world, because I think Sidekicks 1 was just one of the best graphic novels, and I find myself book talking it every year, introducing it to a new group of kids. And Sidekicks 2 is a wonderful sequel to that. For me, always looking at those big authors, looking forward to like debut authors and new authors, but also when I'm thinking about what I'm most looking forward to, it's kind of like the big names. So Catherine Applegate, Wombat Waiting. This is I believe, late spring release. I'm very much looking forward to reading that, and always interesting to see what Catherine Applegate does. She has such great care for young readers, and with an eye on what's happening in the world and that bigger picture view. So I'm excited to see what that. I know nothing about it, so I probably will dive into it knowing nothing about it. Very excited about that.
She's fantastic and is one of the best writers for kids going.
Yeah,
Yep.
one of the best people. 2026, Travis. For me, the unlikely that I've read and loved, the unlikely. I finished this over the weekend. The Unlikely Tale of Chase and Finnegan by Jasmine Warga, who is a Newbery Honor-winning creator. It is about a cheetah, a cub, whose mother passes away early in the book, and a dog, Finnegan, who is kind of like found battered in the woods by a family. And the man who finds Finnegan, is dating a girl who is training Chase. And it's fascinating to watch these two very lost animals find each other in a way that kind of helps them both to survive. It's beautiful.
This book was
And
kind of
and one last thing about it. We talked about this in the 2025 year in review episode, where I think it's really hard to think about a book that is one book, one school. If there was a one book, one school published in 2026, I think it might be The Unlikely Tale of Chase and Finnegan.
this book really gave me, I haven't read it yet, but just hearing the summary, hearing you talk about it, it's kind of giving me like, if you like the work of Catherine Applegate, you might like this book too. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I posted that I was reading it and someone commented that the cover looked like a Catherine Applegate cover, which I found interesting.
Yeah, I could see that. So the 2026 book that I've already read and loved is a picture book. It's called 102 by Matthew Cordell. And I was at the ALA conference this year, and this book was in the Little Brown booth, I believe. And I almost never read the advanced early copies of picture books when they're not even bound yet. They call those F and G's, folded and gathered. It's like not even put together. But I really made an exception for this one. I read it right there, and it still has stuck with me how good this book is. I cannot wait to have it out in the world and to be able to share it and read it with kids. In this story, the main character wakes up in the middle of the night and kind of goes on this almost like surreal journey. And I feel like Matthew Cordell, he made the book evergreen, where there is this like awesome journey that the main character goes on, interacting with these unique, cool characters along the way. There's danger, there's excitement. And it's sort of like that sort of old school traditional storytelling and illustrated beautifully. So Matthew Cordell, if you follow him online, maybe you've seen him lately where he's using one of these kids pens. It's like a pen that you would buy at the Scholastic Book Fair that has it's at the top, it has these little slider click down things where you can choose the color of your pen. When I was a kid, I loved owning one of those pens. I think other people out there can relate. And so he took one of those kids pens with multicolors, and that's how he illustrated the entire book. And so it's got this really cool, like multicolored illustration artwork in it as well. Really detailed, so many different like fine lines and details in the illustration. I think we're going to be talking about this book a lot in the coming year.
You gave me a little Polar Express feel when you were talking about it.
Yeah, it's kind of got this sort of like grand feel to it. It really kind of does. Yeah.
All right. So you have a list that you've created of big authors with books in 2026. And I added one book. Travis. And at some point the conversation is John Shu a big author now? Is John Shu, who has a new book, Lily May's Joyful Day, John Shu, who we've known for 15 years. We knew him as the librarian in Naperville, a Newbery Committee person, an amazing speaker, now an author, probably speaks 200 plus days a year in schools and around the country. Does he belong on this list? He would not love that conversation at all. He would think this conversation is ridiculous. I think part of him might think like, yeah, maybe I am, but he would never say that. Like, what do you think? Does John, because you didn't put him on. You did not include John on your list of big authors with books in 2026. I did, John.
It's kind of funny because like, since we're friends with John, it's like, I almost don't see him in that way.
He's been honored by an ALA committee.
It's like, he couldn't be like with that group because he's just our friend, like that kind of a feel happens. I think the evidence in favor of him being a big author is,
New York Times bestseller.
That's what I was just going to say. He's been on the New York Times bestseller list. So, I feel like the big author, evidence is really adding up for him. So I'm glad that you mentioned that book. We did a cover reveal on 100 Scope Notes for that book recently, and I got to talk with him and Holly Hatem about how the book was made, which was really cool. So I'm excited for him and excited for that book to be out in the world. The other authors, big authors with books this year, you already mentioned some of them, and I've mentioned some of them. Catherine Applegate, Wombat Waiting. Jason Reynolds has a book coming out called Soundtrack. Margarita Engel, who has been a Newbery Newbery level author for a long time. She has a new book called Evamar. Tay Keller has a book, When Tomorrow Burns. Kimberly Brubaker Bradley has a book, Phoenix. We already mentioned Dan Santat, Sashimi, Matthew Cordell, 102. Kadir Nelson has a new book this year, Basketball, the Story of the All-American Game. And if you remember his book, We Are the Ship, it's kind of like this historical look back at a sport. And this one is covering basketball. Corey R. Tabor has a book, Bear for a Day. Aaron Reynolds and Peter Brown are continuing their Jasper Rabbit series of illustrated chapter books. The next one coming is called Unsettling Salad, and I am so glad that series is out in the world because kids love it. Kids still love all the Jasper Rabbit picture books as well.
Huge hits. I have a question. When we were growing up, there were this thing called fan clubs, like musicians and athletes would have them, and you could like sign up for fan clubs. Did that ever exist in the book world?
Oh,
do you know? Because I mean, just Corey R. Tabor, like you would be in his fan club. Like you've mentioned him throughout the last episode, throughout this episode. Like, do you think, and like, do you think that was a thing? Like, was there a Beverly Cleary fan club? Was there a Judy Blume fan club? Was there a Babysitters Club fan club? You could like, sign up and they would like mail you things 4 times a year or something.
That's a great, the two authors that you just picked were like because in my mind, I was like, well, who would have had a fan club?
Yeah.
And those two are like perfect. I would guess that there has been a author fan club in history. It used to be like a saying where you would be like, "Oh, I'm the president of their fan club,"
Yeah.
just basically saying like I'm their number one fan or whatever. But yeah, fan clubs don't exist anymore, and it was all through mail, and yeah, that was interesting. Yeah,
I wonder if we could bring him back.
bring back fan clubs.
Like, who would have the most likelihood of being able to pull that off?
Jeff Kinney
Oh yeah, or Dave Pilkey. Yeah,
or Dave Pilkey probably.
yeah.
I mean Kate DiCamillo. Um, just some of the most beloved folks, popular. Yeah,
I feel like Kate and maybe even Dave would have a real shot because they don't do a ton social media wise. Like you
yeah.
can kind of know what's going on with Jeff Kinney. His social media team is great.
Mm-hmm.
Kate's got like the Facebook post, but there's nothing really for kids.
Right.
Interesting. Maybe I'll have to email Kate, see if she wants to start a fan club. I know the answer.
And you can be the president.
Well, John's kind of the president of John Shue's kind of the president of that fan club. He's probably even said that.
Job's already taken.
John's already taken. So predictions that you have in 2026, besides fan clubs making a comeback. What do you think?
ALA announces a graphic novel award. I have no inside knowledge, anything like that. I just know that over the years, it's been a much discussed topic. Should ALA add a specific graphic novel award to the Youth Media Awards? It seems to make perfect sense. I've heard people argue passionately in both directions. Basically, the people who say there shouldn't be one basically just don't want any more awards in the awards show because there are so many currently. But to me, it just makes perfect sense to add it, and I would love to see that happen in 2026, or maybe some progress towards that.
Yeah, so let's say they do. Let's say they are going to announce. What would be the best way to announce it? Would it be at the ALA Youth Media Announcement Awards? Would it be at ALA Annual in the summer? Would it just be like a boring press release? Would it be on Betsy Bird's blog? Like, what would be the way to announce this award?
I mean, it would probably, most likely, it would come as a boring press release, but it would be really fun to have like some of the great comics and graphic novel people like announce it at the ALA conference. I think that would be really cool to have like, Raina Telgemeier and folks who have just like really been making great graphic novels for a long time to like be a part of that. That would be fantastic.
Let's pretend that we're going to name it after someone. What's the first? It doesn't have to be, no, not holding you to this. What name pops to your mind first? We're going to call it this.
I mean, Raina pops to my mind first, but I don't know.
I don't feel like she's old enough.
I know. She would probably say the same thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, like Scott McCloud, who's like really famous for like popularizing a lot of like the inner workings of how graphic novels work. I mean, there's that award, the Eisner Award, that's given for graphic novels. Mm-hmm. So yeah, those are the names that pop first.
Why is that award? I don't know who that is. I mean, I know the award.
He worked for Disney. He was a Disney illustrator, animator. Okay. And so it ties in with that somehow, I believe. And clearly I'm completely, BSing right now. So.
And what about like, could you name it after like someone like an educator? Like you mentioned Scott McCloud, like an educator who has been huge in like the graphic novels becoming more widespread. It's tough. It's a tricky one. Or do you just call it I mean, are all of the awards named after someone?
Not all of them. I mean, some of them have like the Odyssey Award for audiobooks. That's not named after anyone in particular.
A lot of them are named after someone.
But a lot of them are named after someone, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the Colby Sharp Memorial Graphic Novel.
Wow. So Award. I'm dead now. Wow. I'm now dead. Can be honorary. Memorial. Awesome. Okay. Well, friends, if you have any ideas, just keep us posted on who we should name the graphic novel. I think we should be on the committee to make this award. That would be fun.
I would love that.
That would be a great episode. We could do behind the scenes of the big reveal.
That'd be great.
We did do an episode in a party bus with Dave Pilkey. We can pull this off, friends. Travis, I want to see an author run for a giant office, like a House of Representatives seat. That's what I want to see in 2026. Authors have great views. They're very passionate about politics online, many of them. I want to see one of them with yard signs around their community running for an office. That's what I think is going to happen.
I really love that, especially with, the legislation around like book banning and book censorship, the idea of like having an author actually in office able to help guide some of that decision making, I think makes perfect sense. And now is the time for that to happen. That would be awesome.
So when we talk about this little podcast we have, The Yarn, who is someone that you were sad that we could never have on, that you would have loved to have interviewed if they were still alive?
My choice is Maurice Sendak, and I think he would hate it. And I think the interview would not go well, but it would be so much fun to have him on because so many things like videos in the past, like Weston Woods videos that I've seen interviewing Maurice Sendak. He has so many like great, smart, just blunt things to say about children's books that I love. And I just love the way that he talks about it. So even though it would be difficult, I think, as the interviewer, and he would not necessarily enjoy it, I think that would be really fun. What about you?
Steve Jenkins, lost him a couple years ago. Just looking back at his nonfiction picture books are just really magical and unique and different from everyone else's. I think that would be really fun.
The cut paper wizard. His artwork is really just unbelievable.
Yeah. I love any video that you have that you can find of him where he's like in his studio working. It's just so fascinating. Now, how about people we could actually have, Travis? Who would you like to have on?
So this is a tough category sometimes because so often in this category we want to have on like NBA players or athletes who have come out with picture books and
governors.
just basically as a way to talk with and meet this person.
Yeah.
And the children's books is kind of like almost a little secondary sometimes. But first of all, Carol Boston Weatherford, who has made so many great books over the years, that's my real choice. That's my real incredible author person that I would love to have on the Yarn. I can't believe it hasn't happened yet. I actually went in and searched on all of our episodes. I was like, really? We haven't had her on yet? So that's my real pick. And then my athlete celebrity pick that's not real is Christian Pulisic, who is one of kind of like probably the most well-known men's U.S. soccer player. And with the World Cup coming out, he actually has a picture book coming out. And I got the press release for that. And right away I followed up with, could he come on the Yarn podcast? And didn't hear back on that one. So I'm still waiting. But one thing that I think I've learned from you, Colby, and this happened with the Gretchen Whitmer interview, is sometimes you got to keep trying. And if you keep trying, it ends up happening. Because isn't that how it happened with Gretchen Whitmer? It wasn't like a sure thing right away.
I think that's what we've learned from Travis Kelce, right? You just got to shoot your shot. You never know. You never know what is possible. Shoot your shot. There's no name too big. I saw the Football is Life guy from Ted Lasso also has a book coming out. I got that press release and
saw that
press release email. I'm like, that would be a fun interview to do in person. But the lost episode, the one that almost happened, was me interviewing Shaq live at the TNT studios in Atlanta when NCTE was there. It was very close. It was a real possibility. Just kind of fell through. He ended up not being in Atlanta that week for NBA Countdown. So you never know. You never know. And I agree with what you said about Carol and being like, have we had them on the show or not? I was thinking that with Jasmine Warga. I'm like, we haven't had her on the show. Have we had her on the show? Have we not? So anytime I'm filling out this question, I always have to Google their name in the Yarn podcast, because we've had a lot, and you interview people and I interview people. So I always have Jacqueline Woodson on here. That is I feel like an interview that I'd like to do in person, and I haven't really been doing like national conferences since COVID. Michael Threets, I think we're gonna be able to interview him this year. So that's in the works. Just talking to him would be a lot of fun. There's so many different things we could talk about with that one. So that would be really cool. Would love to make that happen. Woodson as always. How about comeback? Who would you like to have circle back with that we have had on the show, but you want to talk to again?
Yeah, I love that we've had return guests on the show over the years. Just this year in 2020, or just this past year in 2025, we had a few. We had Rebecca Stead come back on the show. We had Betsy Bird a couple times come back on the show. We had possibly our MVP guest, Derek Barnes, back on the show. He's always invited, always welcome. And Candace Fleming was back on the show, and every time talking with her is an absolute delight. I love having her back. The person that I would like to have on the Yarn is Shannon Hale, to have her come back, because she was on the show way back with Dean Hale, Shannon and Dean Hale, married couple of book creators. And I would love to have her come back solo. I think she is so smart, has such a quick wit, is so funny, and she would make a great guest.
Yeah, and one of her books is being adapted into a graphic novel in 2026. Was it Princess Diaries? What was her Newbery honor winning?
Yeah,
that's going to be a graphic novel. It's always fun to me when we have
Princess
a guest
Academy.
Back. Princess Academy,
yeah.
Princess Diaries was a movie, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's cool when we have a guest back and the other person interviews them. So I interviewed Rebecca Stead way back, early the Yarn, and you interviewed her for this past December episode, which was cool. I had interviewed Candace Fleming in the past. You interviewed Candace Fleming now. You've interviewed Betsy Bird many times. I interviewed her for the first time this year. So I think that's fun for us to get to do. I would love to have Jennifer Holm back on the show. I know we started the show with her and Matthew's book Sunny Side Up, so they would be really fun to have on the show. I think that would be a fun one. And also another one that I think would need to be done in person. One of probably the episodes that I'm most proud of was the Gary D. Smith episode so many years ago for Orbiting Jupiter. We interviewed Gary about that really powerful book not long after his wife had passed away. And that's a really special episode that I think we had. So I think it would be cool to have him back on the show. Have you interviewed him for the show?
Never have.
I think so, yeah. So that would be cool. And with Kristen Pulisic, which you mentioned, from Michigan, right? Trained in Canton, Michigan, Plymouth Canton area. Played club soccer there, went to school there. So
connection. Yep. With the World Cup coming up, that'd be fun.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up, Travis. We have done, we're excited for another year of the Yarn. Are you cool with, I think I ask this every year, cool doing another year of the Yarn podcast?
I think so. What about you?
I think so. I'm excited. It's never fun to like have to schedule interviews or think about them beforehand, but I love the conversations we get to have. I love the actual interviewing and talking to amazing people. And there's still a lot of people we need to talk to. So, well, thanks, friends, for listening to another episode of The Yarn. And thank you for continuing to support this show. It means the world to us.
Have a great 2026.